Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Date Your Wife podcast. I just really want to say that I'm glad that I pushed for this podcast and kept it consistent because it's really fun to have communication with you, but it's really fun to have guests inside of our home. We recently started having guests on the Date Your Wife podcast at the beginning of this year, and it's been a great way to get to know people's stories and to understand that like we're in this shit show together.
100%.
We're not doing it alone. We have Whitney and Kyle Carnahan. And I really wanted to have you guys on the show today because you are as crazy as us in the sense that you have lots of kids. Do you guys have 4 or 5?
5.
Yeah, 5 kids.
5?
I forgot. I was like,
I
do you have
was
4 or
thinking
5?
about it.
People ask me and I forget all the time. So
You
it's
know,
fine.
there's too many.
But yeah,
Do you have dogs?
No,
No
Oh,
dogs.
wow.
Cats?
we have a guinea pig. That's
Okay.
about
Guinea
it.
pig.
Stays in a
no one
cage.
feeds it.
No,
It's starving to death.
It smells like poop.
it's disgusting.
It squeals all day long.
Bad
and
decision.
Every once in a
Yeah,
while, someone will
we've
give it
done
a
that.
carrot.
We've done.
We had many guinea pigs. So let me tell you one guinea pig story quickly.
Well,
So we had 2 guinea
that was
pigs in
so
our Ladera Ranch
sad.
house, and we
Oh,
also had
so
Winnie
sad.
dogs.
Oh no.
And we had our guinea pigs in the cage. You can hear where this is going. We go on date night.
Yeah.
Babysitter puts the babies to bed. We come home,
to a
and there's
massacre.
the little chips that are clear up by the front door. And I'm like, how are the fucking chips at the front door? I don't understand what's happening. Who's making a mess around here? Then I come walking up. Dead guinea pig number 1, dead guinea pig number 2,
Stop.
dead guinea
Actually,
pig
our
number
wiener
3,
dog.
and our wiener dogs are sitting
Like-
on the top of the couch going, oh yeah, we fucked those guys.
Oh my god.
Oh, I know.
Were your
Savage
girls
wiener
like
dog.
I mean, in the
traumatized?
morning, no, we cleaned it up, and then in the morning we're like, "How do we have this conversation?" Like it was so scary. I was like, I would not want them to see. But the funny thing is, no, this isn't funny. It actually happened a second time.
We had they got eaten again.
So no, we did the same thing again. We had a pit bull.
Oh yes,
no.
I remember this.
We
Oh,
decided to
geez.
get a pit bull and guinea pigs again at the same time, and the same thing happened.
That's right.
So then we were smarter and we got a bunny.
Oh
There you
yeah,
go.
and then the pit bull sitting
then-
in the living room when Bunny is on my mother-in-law's lap, and the pit bull
Oh.
decides she's done with this. Done with this bunny.
Oh my god.
So she runs across the living room, jumps up on my mother-in-law, gets the bunny by the neck, jumps off the couch.
Oh,
I'm grabbing the
We
dog,
pried his
prying her
mouth
mouth open,
and reaching
punching her in the head. Don't kill the bunny in front of the kids. Now, of course,
Oh.
this bunny.
The bunny lived.
No, this bunny died.
No, the bunny died.
This bunny died in the
months later.
cage outside about a month later. We
So,
do not get rodents anymore.
Anyways,
We're
we
killers.
are not animal abusers. Please do not like think that ill will of us. We just have kids, and kids want weird animals. So
And if
It's
you do
true.
want to talk shit, please tag me or do a collaboration so I can get more traffic because your shit talking helps me.
Plug.
anyway,
I'm learning. And you know what? We were going to get a dog, but then we just decided to have a daughter and name her dog's name Marley.
There you go. Your daughter's name's
So
Marley.
when the kids say, "Can we get a dog?" I go, "You already have a dog.
You're welcome.
oh,
Oh,
don't
Your-
call your
your
daughter
dogger.
a dog.
She's our cute little pet."
She's
She
gonna be
is.
older.
She's
and
way
be like,
better than a
"Dad said I
dog."
was a dog.
I know. I'm like, watch what you say.
That's
Sorry.
all right. You say
We
whatever
love
you
her.
want
She's
on
our
this show.
favorite.
All right, so here's the deal. Kyle and Superhuman Fathers. Whitney runs Warrior Moms Fitness, which became Warrior Woman Mom, and she's evolving. We have 2 people here who have hit sexual explosion.
You
Whoa.
just have to start with
Good
sex.
job, babe.
I'm sweating
We
already.
did it.
Okay, well, that's where we're going to start because that's where we start every show because everyone only comes for the show for sex.
They
Yeah.
do.
Did I just unplug us? No. Okay, good. So we're going to start on the sex topic, but to start on the sex topic, we have to talk about what was.
Oh,
So, Whitney, talk to us about what was
oh
your
man.
relationship sexually.
Right here, first minute in. What was? Gosh.
I'm excited about this
Give
conversation.
a little backstory. 'cause
Okay.
you were married young.
Yes, I was married at 19. Kyle was 22, just barely. And we didn't really know anything about sex. Nobody tells you these things. You go from 0 to home run, and you don't really have any time to play the bases, so to speak.
Bro.
But you guys were
Which
raised
was
in
traumatized.
The Mormon,
Mormon.
frame. Yeah.
I had
Yes.
never seen a vagina.
Before you got married?
No, I was
Never
the-
seen one.
like
Never seen
literally.
one.
No
Literally?
porn. No nothing.
Wow.
Never
The
seen one.
first vagina you saw was Whitney's.
Yes. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I didn't know where you put it. Was it the
No.
belly button?
Do you remember I was on the bed and I was like, let's go. And you were in the bathroom on our honeymoon and we're like terrified
Pumping
to come
himself
out.
up.
Like terrified.
I just wanted to play with some titties for a while. I didn't. Then she just went all the way. I was like, this is too much.
Your married.
I know, but
I'm like, let's just break the seal. Let's just go.
I was like, oh, couldn't.
Did you lose it in the bathroom just walking out?
Like 7 times just singing. But I was like trying to figure out what that was.
Where
Like,
did you guys?
that
Where did you
first
guys
night.
meet? What state were you in?
California.
California.
Okay.
Just San Diego.
Okay.
But
Yes.
no, so this is prior to social media exposure.
Yeah.
So your boys have definitely had a little more
they-
exposure
yeah,
to the
they-
vaginas.
I mean,
They've already picked out their favorites.
oh my God. So let's get back on track.
One thing real quick. So I want the record to be clear that I had to dodge a lot of pussy when I was in high school. Okay.
It wasn't like he wasn't offered any.
So I was just telling this.
Thank you for clearing that up. Our audience, they were on pins and needles.
I know. They're like,
They're
what was
like-
he, some kind of nerd? I was in a punk band. I was a skateboarder. I was around the gnarliest kids. And I was telling this story to my group today because they were talking about holding the line and flesh versus spirit. And there was this, after one of our punk shows, they were trying to get these 2 twins in the room with me. And I told them I was going on a mission. I go, put those chicks in my room and you'll find their dead bodies. Don't put them in my room.
Dark.
I understand it because I came from the same frame.
Yeah.
Like when I was playing arena football, like they would the guys thought it was funny. They would get girls, bring them home from the bar, and I'd be back in bed already because they were out partying after games, and they'd bring them back and they'd send girls into my room to get into my bed,
Yep.
Oh my
and
God.
I would get like violent.
Yes.
I'd be like, "You need to get the fuck out of my room right now." Only I'd probably said, "You need to get the fetch out
Yeah.
of my room."
You got to get the gosh darn freak out of my room. Darn it.
Darn.
Okay, so this is the container. We're coming from the
Oh,
Mormon
God.
container,
Yes.
which Danielle and I are.
Get it?
We both get it 100%. We broke out, and we're so happy you two broke out.
You know, there's freedom, guys.
Yes.
Something
Okay,
on the
so
other
now we
side.
come back. So how would you describe, knowing that this was our pre-frame, I mean, it sure probably wasn't real inspiring for you.
Oh my gosh. No. It was a rough couple months for sure. And turned into a couple decades of
Yep.
similar sexual fear.
Yeah, like, trying to figure out what we do with these things.
Well, just kind of just going just normal and not being experimental, not
Yeah.
trying anything new. Just, okay, this works. We've had 5 kids. We'll just keep running the play. It seems to work. Not realizing that there was more connection and that we were actually disconnected in so many ways. We were doing it, but we weren't getting the connection that we desired
I
from
wanted
it.
something
Yeah.
that I just never got, and I didn't even know what it was that
But I think that is important to talk about because I think in religious upbringings, places where people get married young, things like that, like it is. It's like you just have sex because you're told to have sex, but you don't really understand that sex is a tool and it's a very beautiful tool and it's a God-given tool. And so you're like just literally having sex because you're like, well, it's Tuesday, and you're not even like having fun with it. And so it's
Yeah.
just like, hey, well, we both should have sex because that's what we're supposed to do when we get married, you know. And if you go long periods of time, it disconnects you. Even if sex isn't great, it still is a bonding piece, but it can be so much more.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for couples to understand. Like if we did a podcast with one of the Orange County housewives, and she was saying the same thing. She had 5 kids, got married young, was with this guy, and she's like, we were having sex all the time. She's like, but it wasn't good sex.
Yeah.
She didn't know. She divorced him and went, and now she's with this other guy.
Like,
And
oh.
she's like, holy shit, this is what I was missing. You know?
We have family members like that and friends raised in the Mormon faith. The women have been sexually active in marriage for 10 to 15 years, have not one time had an orgasm. Didn't even know what that was like.
Yeah.
Like, and the guys didn't know even how to deliver it.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I was sitting in college in my first marriage, and the guys above us were doctors. They were in medical school. And we were sitting there above it, and like my ex-wife and I went up to talk, and he's like opening up the medical book, and he's explaining a clitoris, and I'm like, I might have been doing this wrong. Which is crazy because people hear it like now and look at us now, and they have a narrative of what I was like when I was younger. But no, dude, I was younger. I was terrified. I ran away from girls. Okay, so it became what though? You have a description for this. I love the description of what
Yes.
you call this type of sex. Go for it.
I call this type of sex pincushion sex, where legs are open, pump it, done. All right, good for you. Let's go to bed. And I didn't know, this is so embarrassing, but I didn't know that a woman could orgasm and have really a good time in sex. I just thought I was giving the service to my husband
Yeah.
and taking care of his needs. He's got to, go to sleep. It's like the sleeping pill. And
Yeah.
that was kind of it.
better than the right-handed sleeping pill.
It is much better than the right-handed sleeping pill.
Yeah.
And it becomes this desperate situation. I mean, we meet so many like Christian, Orthodox, raised people, not just Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Southern Baptist, new non-denominational, where they're just raised with no knowledge whatsoever. And they get married and it's a shit show. And then the only education is porn.
Well, it's weird because it's taught, like sex is taught like fear and guilt based, right? So then even you're married and you're like, I guess this is how it is. And you would almost feel guilty for like getting kinky or naughty or whatever. You're like, I can't do that. That's like not spiritual. It's actually the exact opposite, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's this weird game, shame and guilt. And so women are just like okay with pincushion sex. So it's like, okay. But then at one point you're like, I want more for me.
Well,
Like,
this is where we want to be. Let's talk about that.
Like,
How did we make the shift?
Yeah, because it's like Garrett and I had like, you know, rough sex for like ever. It was just like non-connecting. It was good.
It wasn't rough.
I mean, it was.
Now it's rough. It was not rough then.
It was rough
Okay.
in a bad way, rough in a good
I
way
mean,
now.
we weren't.
Emotionally rough, not physically.
Emotionally.
I would say we had a little better than pincushion sex, but it still wasn't like amazing. And it was it had gotten to this place where like we were really disconnected. And he's like, I just want great sex. And we're sitting in therapy one day too. And I was like, what makes you think I don't want great sex? And I was like, I just don't want to have sex with you because we were in a really like scary spot, you know? So it's like, when did you realize that you wanted to open up for yourself?
When was that?
What, 3 weeks ago?
It was literally very recent.
I mean, you've been
3 weeks ago?
I'm
Really?
not kidding.
That was
Oh.
like the big
Like a month.
jump, but you've been working on this
I've been working on this
for-
releasing. Like
a little bit for a couple years, a lot for the last year.
yes.
And it's just hockey sticking. All the work that you've done is starting to hockey.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been like more intention and desire for all of that instead of just, you know, play his needs and communicate more with what I wanted. But really, honestly, it was like a month ago. I got this tattoo.
You
It's
had
so
some really
funny.
wild sex a month ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was wild.
I didn't even know
Who she was.
what that was.
Yes.
Well, every man when he's a little boy
Imagine.
dreams about a woman that he can fall in love with and want him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that I wasn't even close to having that. I'd always look at Whitney and try to get in there, like in her eyes, in her soul.
Yeah, yeah.
And I couldn't get in. And I thought, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when I remember I did not look at porn or jerk off until I was married for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point I was seeking for something like, I thought it was going to be here. Where's this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started like going on the computer and like starting to feel this thing that I've never felt before, looking at like the softest porn ever, you know, where I was like, wow, is that how they're supposed to look at you? Those eyes?
Do you know that's why women don't get this? This is why men are so drawn to porn. They're drawn to it because of the look these women
They
give
want
to
it.
the men.
It's not like checklist sex.
the
It's like they
eyes,
want
the
to please
eyes.
them. They want to be in that situation. You know what I mean?
That's why most guys, the group of some of the most favorite porn that men will watch across the board is a woman blowing him, looking up at him. As weird as it sounds, it's not even the blowjob. It's the
'cause he feels
desire.
wanted.
He was like, this woman's devouring me. I want this.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Porn is such an attraction to men, not because of physical, because of the sense of being desired by a woman this way.
I do think that women, they definitely like hold the sex card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was a piece in our marriage where I was like, I'm tired of holding the sex card, but I had to release it in myself, right? If I'm in control of this, like I have to be the one that opens up more. And then he's able to feel seen and feel connected and that kind of thing. But how much did bikini competitions help you like feel a little more like
It was interesting. It was some days, yes. And then some days I had more of a complex about my body.
Yeah.
And so I felt almost more insecure. Like if I was at my leanest, I was like, check me out.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I was like, you know, putting on weight after season or whatever, I'd be like, don't touch me. Like, oh God, that's fat right there. Like, so it was kind of it was a fuckery for a while. But
yeah.
so the biggest thing though I've realized is him communicating more with me and realizing that my lack of connection and intimacy and desire in him was because I was still holding on to so much resentment. And so like it was like a subconscious punishment that I was doing that I didn't realize I was doing until I really started stacking and processing myself more and going, holy shit, this is your fault that you're not getting the emotional connection because you haven't allowed yourself to drop the walls. So that was like a big aha moment for me. It was like, you got to let it go.
And inherently kind of an asshole. Just
Okay.
I can do that too.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
builds up.
Treats us like employees and coaches a lot more.
Like
Well,
we're
we
in the-
always joke around. You guys are like, you're just like we see what you're going through, and we're
You
like,
two are like our twins.
yeah, I'm like,
We're just
oh.
hoping to accelerate you
Yeah,
in like
yeah.
a year, what took us 10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So get ready
Yeah.
because this is just the beginning.
Oh,
The
man.
crazy stuff that's coming.
Yeah.
Okay, so you make a switch.
Yeah.
You made a decision. Danielle made a decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy part that a lot of the women are like, oh, my wife just, no, these women have to make a decision
Yeah.
to shift. The guy can only do so much. So
Yeah.
even teach a guy a game. At some point, the woman, has to decide.
the woman has to be comfortable with herself and her body, and that comes with reps.
Yes.
Like everyone's like, sex is natural. Sex is not natural. I'm like, chemistry is natural, but to get good at sex, you have to
Yeah.
have reps, and to really get good at sex and having reps, it's not missionary style. It's like having fun and playing around and doing all the things. And so it's like, for me, I was like, okay, I want to like let myself free, and I was like, okay, like I have to be like more flirty in the bedroom. I have to be like, I have to own him in the bedroom, you
Mhm.
know? And so there's this like piece where women say, well, that's not me. That's not my personality. I'm like,
yeah.
well, because you're not taught that. You shamed it and said, that's not me. I can't do that because you feel guilty. So you have to make a conscious effort to be like, hey, this is really uncomfortable, but I'm going to walk around naked, or we're going to go on vacation. And first thing I'm going to do is jump on my husband, you know, and things like that. And then it becomes more natural. And what happens is it becomes a very powerful tool as you gain certainty in yourself and your sexuality. You're like, holy shit, I own this man, you know, and he likes that in turn.
Okay, so
Yes.
you flipped the inner slut switch.
Yeah.
So I say that and people get so triggered. I'm like, no. Every man wants his wife to be amazing, beautiful, and a slut.
Mm-hmm.
And people have looked at the word slut as like bad. It just means a woman who
I like
likes
to
to
say
have
inner
sex.
stripper.
Yeah. Strippers.
I like inner stripper.
She has more
Because
power,
that's
maybe.
like a role. like slut sounds like a little dirty, but like I like
Yeah.
inner stripper.
Which really translates to slut. And that's what guys like.
Yeah. I'm going to go with inner stripper.
Strippers are slut. And that's okay. It's not, but
Yeah,
here's the thing.
we-
Look
we-
at all the names.
Profession. Okay. They.
We're professionals, okay? Don't call us a slut.
Listen.
Sluts don't get
We're
paid,
strippers.
probably. Like.
Well, high-end sluts get paid very well.
I get paid real well, thank you.
Well, listen, I had somebody say that me and Kyle are actually the most expensive form of prostitution ever.
Oh yeah.
Married men who buy all these things for our wives. And if you add the money up, you're like, that is exactly $14,322 per orgasm. And you know what I could do in
Should've just
Vegas
hired-
for
At least we know our
14,000?
value.
Holy
I mean-
shit. Okay, so let's go back to the switch. Whitney, when does the switch happen for you? Because here's the deal. In our world, everyone that knows you, when you two walked, I actually saw a picture of you two at the Ascent Brotherhood party.
Oh yes.
And I saw you two. I don't know who captured that picture of you two, but I was like, oh no, it's on. It's finally fucking on with those
over.
two.
Yeah.
I was like, just the energy. And it wasn't like you guys were all covered up. It wasn't like some half naked photo shoot. It was just somebody captured a photo of you or kissing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing that photo and going, it's
Yeah.
happened.
It happened.
The switch happened.
Yeah.
So talk to us. I wanted to know about this switch.
Yeah. It's finally letting Kyle in.
Hmm.
And for me, it was like really just opening my heart up completely. And I didn't realize how long I have put him. I remember you saying this to me. Was it when we did our MDMA? Where you're like, I just want to get close to you. Like, but my heart is always guarded.
Hmm.
And it's like, it's childhood.
It's a
I don't know.
protective mechanism for women.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was finally like, no, I have to let him in because I'm just punishing myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let's just, I said like my whole phrase to myself is just be free. And so I'm like, where can I be free? Okay, be free sexually. Let's go. What does this look like? Be free in how I talk, be free in how I feel and how I move my body and like take ownership finally of me. And so when you said like the stripper part, it was yes, but it was me going, I want you to do this to me. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. And I kind of started dominating sex for the first time where I was always more
Calling
of the
the shots.
submissive one.
Mhm.
And I was like, nope, I'm going to go into this position. You're like, and I kind of just like was finally communicating. You good?
Oh,
He's getting sweaty.
he's mesmerized. It's still been 4 weeks. So he's asking for the casita right after the show. And you got it. We've had many powerful couples, Chris and the casita. It's
It
clean
is
and ready for you.
Speechless.
It is true. I believe the woman like plays
Yeah.
the lead role a lot of times. Like we have this like fantasy of a guy like taking us, but really if they come and they're too aggressive, we're like, what the hell?
Yes.
Like ease into it, buddy. Like there's been so many times where Garrett's come in like really hot and handed. I'm like, whoa, like come on, like like gentle. But if we come hot and handed with them, they're like, okay,
Yes,
we're doing
there's
this.
no
That was
reservation.
that first night we were on the date, and you were pissed off at me for some reason. I think it was just resentment over 21 years of hate. And and she started slapping me in the face and punching me.
We were making out, and I was like, I just
And I
want
was
to hit
like,
you. And he's
"Ooh."
like, okay.
She's like, I'm sorry. I don't know what's coming into me. I'm no. Keep doing that. She's just like, whack. And I'm like, yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then it was
Okay.
like, oh, I have
She's
power.
like, wait, I can do that? I was like, yes, please do that.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, you can continue with the rest of it. Too.
exactly.
Yes.
Yes. And it was kind of
That
like
was like
this.
the opening
It's like,
of the
oh, I have
door.
freedom. Yeah.
So it was a slap in the face. Were you guys having sex during the slap?
It was,
We were
it was-
making out.
yeah,
We
See,
were getting
that's why
ready.
it was okay.
It was
If you were
going that way.
It was going that way. So he knew something good was coming
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Every man knows when his wife slaps him,
Yes,
he's
I was
something
like-
good is coming.
I,
When it's a slap with a little
I
bite
mean, as
of the
long as
lip.
she's topless and then smacks you, you know where it's going to
100%.
go.
yeah, I was like, is this?
That's it.
I have strange feelings. This could be considered abuse, and yet I like it.
please choke me more.
BDSM is in your future. Building the sex room next month.
Sex room. Yes. Oh my gosh. Sorry,
like,
kids. We got to
have-
take one of your rooms.
I mean, is there a
We
way we
plenty.
could get maybe like a tool that you could hit me with? I mean, just some thoughts that I have. I don't know.
Here's
my
the most
God.
important thing is that now you're like, hey, I'm open, right? As before.
Yes.
So it's not even about the slapping or this and that. You're just like, you're both now open. You're like, hey, this is fun. Let's try
Yeah.
that, you know?
yes.
And then it also builds like some kind of like trust because you're like, we did that together. Like, ooh, like
We're breaking free together.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and like we were like, okay, well, let's create an environment that's different.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did it overnight, and you were vibing. You were just she was glowing and vibing, and I was like, I couldn't stop staring at her.
Yeah,
What is this?
it's great.
And we get to this hotel just real close to our house, and went at dinner, and we don't drink, and we were like,
We don't drink. You said that with such certainty.
well, we just don't.
I know.
We just never have, and we're
It's
like,
just never really been a
we're like,
desire of
"Let's,
ours.
Let's get a few drinks. She's like, it's like we're in.
So it's kind of like naughty.
It was like
It's
another naughty thing. So
Yeah, it's
now we like broke free from
it's like
sex and we're like,
Gilbert.
we're 15
Yes.
years old, you know.
Yeah.
I know.
We're
We're
like,
like, but we're doing it all together
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
first time, which is kind of funny.
So fun.
But you guys like raised each other. You got married so young. We always say this all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, we literally were like kids and we kind of like raised each other.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's fun if you can go through these experiences together because so many people get to this point where they're unwilling to like rediscover themselves,
Yes.
and so they call it quits. They're like, well,
Yeah.
sex was just bad, and you're like, well, and so then they go with somebody else, and all of a sudden they're free and open and this and that, and you're like, you can recreate it in your relationship. And for Garrett and I, it's interesting because it's like you guys have 5 kids. Why would you throw that history away? Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
give it a chance
Yeah.
to go to get free together?
Yep.
Totally.
Because the wild part is this: if you two got divorced, I'm not saying you were ever going to in that place, but if you did, here's the facts at your age. At your age right now, within months, you'd find a man and you'd do exactly what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And within months,
Yeah.
he'd find women and he'd do exactly what he wanted. And this is happening everywhere,
Mhm.
which is couples are hitting this break point. They love each other so much.
But they
they're not
can't
sure how
connect.
to get this wall to go down.
Mhm.
And they both, with a knowing in their souls, know that part of this experience in life is to experience this type of sex. So the walls are so thick between that it becomes easier to, this is just a tear down, we'll rebuild
Yeah.
the house.
Mm,
Seems
yep.
easier, just tear the house down.
Because it's so uncomfortable.
We'll be great co-parents and we'll just build a new house.
Mhm.
And then I can be my new self.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
In this new house, I can be a new self, and then I can be all these things that I wasn't with my spouse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
huge what you two have pulled off. And just watching you two together at one of our events was like, so everybody was talking about you two. There's like, Whitney is on fire and Kyle is on fire. These two are like 2 dancing flames that cannot stop touching each other right now. And we loved it. Some of the guys that hadn't been aware for like 9 months, 10 months were like uncomfortable because they were like, Coach, I've never experienced like a warrior event with sexual energy in it. I was like, welcome to the new warrior. All these women
That's
broke
right.
at the same time.
We're all breaking free. Watch out.
Okay.
Crazy.
So part of this process with like sex and anything is honesty.
Yeah.
Kyle, talk about just the honesty factor that's come up for you guys in the last couple of years, just how much more honest and what the impact has been on sex, but just on life with you two.
Well, there's the first ripping off of the Band-Aid when you first realize that you're a liar. And when most people hear this, like, what are you lying about? They're like, nothing. I'm an honest man. Bullshit. But you can't see it until you start digging. We start getting in the stacks and And I start seeing it in myself. And then I'm like, once I see it, like, I'm a fucking liar. What else is fake about me? What other masks am I wearing? And I start peeling those layers off. And then I'm like, oh shit, Whitney's got to see this. Like, what's going on in her? And I wanted to see what was underneath this mask, because I was like, everybody's got a mask. We all got these layers. So then I invite her to that warrior trainer event. She almost didn't come. And then she had that just absolute awakening and that experience where she was able to see things in her that she's never even thought of, or given herself permission to actually have an opinion. And that was the beginning of us starting to share truths. She started stacking every day. I was stacking. We started sharing them with each other. And we started sharing the love and the hate, both. And then learning how to accept the hate without reacting, but feeling the pain. Like when she was sending me some of these stacks, I'm hurt, but I'm like, okay, that's supposed to feel like that. I just got to let that sit and understand. And I share mine. And then all of a sudden through that process, each time we'd get a little closer. And then we would have a blowout and then fight and then come a little closer. And then have another blowout, fight, come a little closer. But it was risky. It was painful. It was chaotic. And we realized that's the only way it works, which is crazy to us. Like knowing it now, it makes sense. But back then,
everything was safe before.
Yeah. Fighting's bad.
Yeah.
We don't say that.
Yeah,
That'll hurt his feelings.
Arguing's bad. Wrong. It's required.
Yeah.
So stacking. A lot of people may not know what stacking is. Whitney, talk to us about what stacking is so they know what this world of warrior is that we play in.
Yeah.
What's
Stacking.
stacking to you?
Stacking is, I explain it as like a prompted journal entry where it's questions that help you think beyond what you're naturally kind of at. So questions of finding really getting past the feelings and finding the actual facts behind the story that you're creating in your head. Because a lot of times the feelings get really elevated, especially in me. Like I can put up feelings and put up walls very fast, but I don't take the time necessarily to find the facts and find the root. And so it just becomes petty shit. And so finding all the reasons behind the feelings that I've been feeling and taking ownership finally was allowing me to see myself in ways that I didn't want to. And then opening my heart up to see him in the ways that I need to, but I've been so resistant in. So that's been so huge for us, is just cutting through you shouldn't say that. Don't do that. Just, it's fine. Everything's fine. Just be numb. It's okay. Get through it. Be a good wife. It was like, no, like I'm going to get real and I'm going to find me and I'm going to help him find him and we're going to come together. So the stacking is just, it's the wall breaking really of your
How did that help? Like, because a lot of times like having these conversations are filled with so many triggers, right? So we've watched couples take stacking on and share their truth in a way that is accountable, and also at the same, because it holds you accountable in the stack to your truth and owning your shit in it, not just being able to vomit yours.
Yeah.
How much did that help being able to share those? Like, how much did that open up conversation for you that you're having now that you couldn't have like 2 years ago?
For sure.
Well, because when you read, especially like a rage stack or angry stack, you're reading it and you're all offended and pissed and you're going through the emotions, but then it kind of resolves itself at the bottom when you're reading your spouse's idea of taking responsibility for their peace.
And what do they really want?
And so then it opens up like a safer conversation after it's done. Whereas if it was just, and I mean, we've done that too, where, Whitney rage stacks me on the regular without writing, just to my face. But if I see it that way, then I'm like, okay. Yeah,
We'll get through it.
Yeah,
just got to purge a little bit.
Write it on me. Just
Yeah.
write the rage stack on me. Get that poison out. I've just been starting to see it when I'd normally be reactive and be like, oh, hold on. Like, all right. Yeah, you're cute when you're spicy. Get that shit out.
But
Get it
the
out.
reps of writing it though, and having that time to yourself and just to allow yourself to process yourself, well, nobody does that.
Yeah.
And so then we share ours in the morning. And so I feel like when we finally get time to talk, among all the kids and all the other distractions we have, I have like kind of like a little summary of how he's actually doing instead of just, how was your day? Good. Okay, cool. High five. We got to do this. We got to do this. And you're kind of in a distraction mode and you're not really connecting. So the stacking just allows you when you are talking to actually have something worthwhile to talk about, where it's not just surface.
It's crazy though. You said like, I feel like when men have like you and Garrett have very like high reactivity, right? So what happens for women like us is then our reactivity is like, we meet you with our alpha. And then it's like, you want this sweet doting wife, but then you're super like reactive. And so we act like closed off or even like, what? Like
It's either or.
yeah. It's either we shut down, close off because we're like, I don't really want to fight right now. Or we'll come at you like a dude. We're like, you're going to come at me like a dude. I'm going to come back
I'll
at
throw
you
some
like
punches.
a dude. Yeah. And ultimately like, we're like, we want to be soft and feminine, but we have to feel safe in doing so.
Yep.
And so it's like having, I'm sure with you guys too, does that help when you stack before you like have a conversation and does it help with reactivity?
For sure. Oh yeah. Because there's more clarity now, I feel like, where a lot of times when you go into a fight or, you know, there isn't clarity. It's just like projection and blame and you're just trying to hurt the other person, trying to win. And so that has helped us to like really come and yes, we have to collide. That's necessary. But the repair, like we're both in it to have the repair, not just to be dominant.
We're almost like competing now to see who could be the most calm.
Because that's the ultimate power move, right?
Yeah. So we understand now like the control of emotional reactions. You're in the power seat. So we're both like going calmer. I'm calmer than you.
Yeah.
I'm calmer.
And then when you're spazzing, I'm like smirking, like I'm winning.
And then I get embarrassed. I'm like, ah, shit, I'm reactive, huh? You're like, I don't know. I mean, possibly.
It's crazy that you say that because like he lately has been, I'm like, you're so controlled. It's so mature and it's so sexy. I was like, and I'm like, you're not like when he's less reactive, then I'm like, oh, then I feel like I can be more like safe in what he wants in turn, you know?
Yes.
You literally said that a few days ago.
I said that today. I was like, I
today?
love this version that you're showing up with. You're very like calm and strategic. I know you can go to war, but I need you to be strategic with your strikes. And so with me, he's been like way just like, it's this level of maturity that is just so sexy. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Isn't
Finally,
it weird?
we got here.
Yeah, I was like, finally, he's 48 years old. We're here, babe.
But here's the deal. This is why so many women in their 20s and 30s are married dudes.
Because these guys are like, you're cute, and we've
These
done
dudes
this.
have already gone the game.
Yeah.
They've already played the fucking charade. They've been married once or twice. They've gone through the chaos. They've established a company. They have the money. So they can sit there and just go, you're cute. So keep telling me more. You're turning me on, but I'm not going to respond to anything you're saying. I literally own you. That was my ex and her husband. They were here for dinner with us, or like when they first moved to Orange County, like 2 years ago or something. And he sold one of his companies like $300 million, like very successful. He's 26 years older than her. They've been together for like 18 years, 17 years. And I go, dude, like, because she has changed a little bit, not like a lot, but a little bit. And like, I really like her as a person. I think she's great. She's just not my person. But he and her are like perfect. And I asked him, I was like, so how do you deal with this? He's like, oh, she's just cute. I was like, so do you get like irritated? Why? He's like, nah.
She's kind of like spicy and like.
She's real spicy. And he's just like,
That's why her and Garrett didn't work out.
Yeah.
Too much spice going on.
too much spice. He's internal spice.
See, but what's interesting, you guys are similar to us because I can be spicy, but really I'm like, I don't want to fight. Like I think I avoid conflict, but in me doing that for so many years and not being honest with what I wanted, I was like, my soul is literally dying. Like I'm just pretending like it's okay. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm taking on all this weight. And like, I'm just at this point where I'm like, I'm going to explode at some point.
Yes.
You know, and you get to this point where it's so painful that you're like, okay, now I have to be honest, but how do I tell him like these, and how do I even describe why I'm not happy? I'm hitting the checklist. I should, it's literally.
On paper, it looks great.
Yeah. And you literally, for me, and I don't know if this is for you, I was like, I don't even know how to be honest. I just know I'm hurting, right? So for a lot of people that are listening to this show, it's like, well, I think I'm being honest. Sometimes it's just like communicating that all of a sudden the honesty comes out of what you really want and you didn't even know you're missing it.
Yeah.
One of the things we've just been saying a lot, even to the couples we coach, is like the feelings that your spouse has is the truth. Instead of, because so much times they're like, I don't feel like you see me and I don't feel connected. And you're like, what? We hang out all the time.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't feel connected? This is stupid. And then it's like, okay, cool. You don't want to listen to me and I'm not validated. Awesome. I'll just not have sex with you ever again.
Yeah.
Wait,
Closed off. But it does come from a true place. Otherwise, they wouldn't say it. Can it be elevated? Can it be a little bit more
a little
dramatized?
dramatic and weird
100%.
and doesn't make sense. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing with you, and you've been doing that with me. You're just listening to my feelings and being like, you can think like a lot of times I'm thinking like, well, that's really insane. But I'm like, it's true. It's true.
There's truth there.
Well, we've had the same moments where
say-
Danielle will share her truth with me, or I'll share mine with her, and both of us are immediately have gone to the checklist of like, how could you be feeling that?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking
What are you
about? I
talking
do all
about?
these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
because we were feeling that was us like almost 2 years ago. Like there was just the
Well,
connection wasn't
it's like,
there.
well, like a couple years ago, I came to him and I'm like, I just don't feel connected. Like there's something missing. And he's like, your house, your cars. He's like, he's like, I'm taking you on date nights and trips and diamonds. And I'm like, I know, I don't even know how to tell you this, but like, it's not enough. And I literally was like, you can let all the cars and all the house go. I'm like, I don't give a shit. We can rebuild that. But what I'm unwilling to tolerate is lack of connection with us because I'm dying inside. And so when we had this conversation, it was just like, it's probably like for a powerful man to have that conversation with him. He's like, it's like this macho thing where you can have your ego and be like, and be like, whatever, I'm the man. If you don't like it, find somebody else.
Yes.
And that's so scary for women because we are like, we want you to be this provider and we have your kids and all this thing. And we're like, but we need more. But if I say this to him, are we replaceable? Especially as you get older because you're like, well, now I'm older. Now I have kids and he's the provider. So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I'm replaceable now because my clock is ticking.
Shit.
So a lot of women get to that space. And so they're scared to be honest.
Yeah.
There's too much to lose.
Yeah.
Well, and this is why like so many couples, that's why the switch is both in the guy, but the switch is also in the woman.
Yeah. It's
So
both.
we know a lot of guys that we train between Superhuman Fathers, Wake Up Warrior, so many movements where the guys are doing their best and the women are not flipping the switch. And here's the thing that's crazy about being a guy. And I've said this to you many, many times. It is a fact. It is a fact. It is a fact. As Kyle and I get older, our stock value in sensuality, sexuality goes up. Clear up until our 60s. We are, and our age range of women go from late 20s to 50s, which you're talking 3 decades of women. And the guys at the top of the food chain are the most desirable. Now, after like 60, 65, it probably goes downhill. But for guys
in the window.
women start hitting that clock around 40. So then you have these couples that have been together for, that's why the divorce rate's happening in that pocket.
Yeah.
Because the men are rising in power, the women won't flip the switch, and the men are like, I'm not going to fucking play this game for the next 2 decades. Hell fucking no. Do you know what I have as options out there? Yeah, I want you, but you won't flip the fucking switch, woman.
But women,
Help me understand.
I think that women sabotage themselves. They know that, so they start doing stupid shit. And you're like, just be the woman he wants you to be.
Yeah.
Like he wants to be with you. And you're now like, because your clock's ticking and all these stories, now you're like resentful and you're bitchy and you're all these things. But really, you just need to share your truth.
I was with 3 very successful men. These guys make 20 to 40 million a year, each of them. All married, all cheating. Now, hear me out on this. So I asked him, I said, so talk to me about where are you at with your wife? You're like, listen, I love my wife. I've been with her for 20 some years. All I want from her is to want me. Like, just open up, woman. Stop being so closed down. I just want you to fuck. I was like, so be straight with me. All these young girls you go out with, do you really give a shit about them? No.
Yeah.
But my wife will not flip the switch. She's so self-conscious. She won't. She's so uptight. I can't get her to do it. Even when I get her drunk, she's still so uptight.
Yeah.
I can't help. What am I supposed to do? I was like,
But she's
Whitney,
resentful. She's
Warrior woman,
resentful
please.
she's resentful for her own lack of honesty.
That's it.
It really is.
And it's fear, isn't it?
yeah.
Yes.
It's
She has to
it's
start
fear.
she has to start by first being honest with herself.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I feel like stacking was so important for me, because it was me actually like I told you, like, I don't have nobody's going to read it. It's for me. And so I don't have anything to prove, where I feel like for a lot of women, right, we do things to get acceptance, recognition, all these things. But when you're stacking on your own, I'm like, nobody to really impress. I'm just writing this for myself. And so it was like this kind of delayering and this freeing piece, which I feel like is the first piece to finding the unleashing in you, is you have to know yourself and love yourself and accept yourself. But so many women hate themselves because they're not being honest with what they want.
Do
And
you
so there's
feel like-
resentment.
Do you feel like in stacking, it's almost like a self-discovery? So you're like, you can almost approach it like oh, that's why I'm feeling this way.
Mhm.
And it's stupid and I don't want to be resentful. And so there's probably like a better way to like approach him with whatever you're feeling.
100%.
Like-
how many times have been for all of us where the issue isn't your spouse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The issue is you.
Yeah.
But we want to point at our spouse
Mm-hmm.
as the issue. I mean, the whole time when we were first married and we were going to the Mormon church, I would get in fights with her like every week about not being spiritual.
Yeah.
Why don't you read the Bible? Or why don't you
And
read
it
the
was
Mormon?
late. He's like,
You're
you
not
know,
spiritual.
he's
You're
like,
late to church. Blah, 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 blah. Yelling
mind
her
you,
on the
while we
way.
were dating, he's trying to get in my pants. I'm like, this is weird messaging. I'm like,
I'm confused.
I'm so confused.
Who do I follow?
You were
She's
that
not wrong.
kind of guy.
She's not wrong. And I wasn't trying.
Then we get married, and all of a sudden, I'm like, who's missionary Garrett? Like, what?
And but what was really being expressed was I was questioning the fabric of my own truth.
What's weird is when I met you, I thought he was like the wild guy. We met in Utah. He was going to BYU, and I was going to UVU. And literally everybody there in BYU land is like cookie cutter, like, and he comes out like spiky hair. He's got a tattoo. Like, I'm like, ooh, I was attracted to the bad boy. So then we get married and I'm like, what the hell? Like, we're going to church. Like, what are you like? Like, he was like all of a sudden a different person.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
False
I got
pretense.
catfish.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
catfish.
I knew that I believe that when I met you, that was you.
Yeah.
It was the culture and the community and the religion and the fear and the guilt and the doubt that made you go into this other version of you that wasn't you. And so that's why we got so disconnected for about 10 years because I'm like, where's the guy that I thought when we were dating? And then then we had to like almost rediscover ourselves.
We only knew one way to be a man and raise a family. That was the only way we knew.
Yeah.
And the truth is, most examples we had weren't that good.
Yeah.
Like my dad was not a good example of how to be a man and raise a family. Like it just wasn't. So like I didn't have any points of reference. Like there was no warrior. There was no men's movement.
Yeah.
There was no 700 different men you could look to on social media.
There was elders quorum.
You had elders quorum and people
Oh,
at the church,
geez.
which is the worst example ever. Don't
Yeah.
drink coffee, don't drink alcohol, but
Yeah.
you can be fat as fucking diabetic and you're going to heaven.
Yes.
Which was wild to me. Okay, so let's hit this topic. You two left the Mormon church, raised in the Mormon church, super intense, but you chose a different path. Whose choice was this? Was it both? One? Who made this?
I jumped first. So when I became a fireman at 30, and so I get into the fire service, and I'm around fucking men
Mhm.
Yeah.
that are leading in chaos, that have integrity, that have powerful physical bodies, and that have presence, and that can command a room. And I'm like, the fuck is that? That's different than the men that I've been following over here. Like I've never seen this or felt this before at this level. And some of these guys were atheists. And I'm like, hold on. Like
They're
that
good men. This is confusing.
that's a man. And so I'm looking, then I go to church and I'm looking around and see all these fat fucks that like are like, I just,
Nothing about them screams masculinity.
no, like they're like full of estrogen.
You finally saw like what was possible, I feel like, kind of being trapped in a culture that
Yeah.
you didn't
So
know.
I was like, I don't want to
Yeah.
follow this.
Mhm.
I want to be like these guys, and they all have different beliefs,
Mhm.
all of them. And yet they're leaders. This is
Mhm.
what leadership is to me now. And I'm like, and I'm seeing just chaos, blood, fire, death, dark as shit, dead babies, like
Mm.
appendages on the highway. And I'm watching real men deal with real shit, not fake made up shit. So I came home one day and Whitney's like, you don't seem like you're into it anymore. I was like,
well, Parker, he was turning 8 and our second oldest was about to get baptized.
Yeah.
And I go,
Why?
we got to get him baptized. Are you going to baptize him? And that's kind of how, because he was already not going to church. I was already bringing the 4 boys
yeah.
by myself.
wow.
And so, yeah, I was like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I was
And that's
just
where
like,
you were like,
Whit, I'm out. I was like, I'm out. I don't even know if I believe in God anymore.
Hmm.
Like the shit I've seen.
Hmm.
I really honestly, a God that would let the shit I seen happen, I'm out. In fact, fuck him.
Hmm.
And if that's the God that does this shit, I'm going to hell and I'll be happy to.
Hmm.
So Whitney freaks out, obviously.
my envision of my 4 boys going on missions and
Yeah.
dad,
Yeah,
being
your
there.
frame
And I'm
was
like,
broke.
wait, everything is different.
And this is the birth of the psycho side of me starting at that moment
Yes.
that had been in a tiny little Mormon box.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
you finding your truth finally without being forced into a container. Yeah.
So you went into a room and cried, and I kind of went and knocked on the door. I go, hey, be careful how you react to this, because we've seen families unravel
Mhm.
over this. And I'm telling you, Whitney, the world is a very big place, and there's an adventure for us.
Hmm.
And she came out. Oh, fuck. She said, if you're going to hell, I'm going with you.
Oh my God.
That's what she said. And I said, that's the most Christ-like thing I've ever heard.
Wow.
And I said, well, looks like we're going to hell together. And then we just were open. Oh, after that moment, we were just open to conversations. And it was like I was free to
Yeah.
ask people. I was like, hey, what do you believe? And they'd like tell me, and I'd be like soaking it up.
Mhm.
And
No, my way's the only way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
I only go to the true
started
church.
just soaking up all these ideas and thoughts, and it was like I was a sponge. Even guys are like, yeah, I don't believe in God. And I'm like, why? What does
Yeah.
that feel like? Is that weird? Is that scary? Because I'm kind of scared. Like, I think I don't believe in God either, but I think about just dying and disappearing in the ground, and it freaks me out. They're like, why does it freak you out? I don't know. I was like, oh, fuck, it's my ego. To not exist, it's just me being a prideful, egotistical prick that wants to exist. Why do I want to exist? And then in that like darkness of fear, the place I was so afraid to go, I looked at the world and I was like, what a miracle that I'm even here. Holy shit. If we all just disappear and this is a magic trick, how blessed am I? I don't want to waste a fucking day. Which led to what? Worshiping discipline, integrity, all the things I learned in church that still worked without God.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. So that's where we were for a long time until I met this crazy motherfucker. and that's
And
where
that was another new conversation.
Yeah.
So you kind of like gave up on God in your life.
Oh yeah, I was like Roman. Like honor. Honor to the death.
Just Spartan code.
That's it.
That's it.
No God, just we live once and we die with honor.
Now where are you at with the God conversation?
I don't even know where to start with.
Well, this
that
is the
question.
crazy piece. So he goes to WarriorCon 4. He starts stacking, and all of a sudden he's like, I believe in God. And I'm like, fuck you. We just got through this.
together.
I just was by your side, and now you're like leaving me
All the
behind.
boys were making fun of me.
Our
They're
boys were like,
there
Dad."
goes Dad doing some weird shit again.
They're just like, we can't follow this guy. He's a lunatic.
He's a loose cannon.
He's all over the place.
Fuck God, we're Vikings. Okay, we're back with God. Let's
We are
go.
Christians now. Back to it.
But that was huge. And I was
Back up real quick on this one, right? So like people may not understand this from the Mormon frame. So if you go to a non-denominational church or you go to a soft happy, well, I call them happy clappy churches. They're great. I do. I really enjoy so much about if I'd been raised in non-denominational Christianity, I'd have probably stayed like in the game because they're so fucking loose. It's just loose. It's like show up, we do a rock concert for an hour.
Yeah.
You ask for an offering. They warm you up on like this 1 hour set. And then I tell my kids, I was like, watch, here comes the pitch. Okay, get ready. This was set. Everybody's been warmed up. Now comes the pitch. They got donuts and coffee. The kids got free childcare and the pitch in 3, 2, 1. The building fund. And my kids are sitting there go, oh, that was a good pitch this week. I was like, it was a good pitch. Solid. Gonna get big ones on the text in on that one.
Text
And it was
this
funny
number.
because I had that world and a lot of soft Christianity is what most Christians come from. Talk about it from your perspective about why leaving the Mormon church is more like leaving a gang than it is leaving your community church. We don't like Saddleback
dead to
Church.
your family.
We're going to Oceans.
Yeah.
We don't like Oceans. We're going to Mission. We don't like Mission. We're going to wherever.
Yeah.
You are breaking the family chain and cursing all the way up your chain and all the way down.
Don't you know
for
who your
generations.
ancestors are?
And you will not be in the celestial kingdom with your family sealed for eternity. You have broken the promise and the covenant. You are now ostracized.
It's not only with the family though. The hardest thing for me was like, I kind of had all my friends at church.
Yeah.
And they stuck around for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like I was a lone ranger.
Mm-hmm.
And so you lose your tribe. Like you kind of lose your support system.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like I lost my circle of friends. They would say they didn't go anywhere, but it just got weird.
Yeah.
And then our families totally left us behind. Every time we were around them, it was criticism and are we ruining our kids? And, without God, everything's going to be of no worth.
Parents crying all the time.
Parents crying. It was just so like, we just totally felt alone. Yeah. We're just like, who do we have to love us?
The Carnahans are really struggling right now.
Yeah.
That's right.
We need to pray for them. And we're like,
putting your
fuck you,
names-
we're thriving.
Yeah.
But it brought us together.
You know what's crazy though? Even like what Garrett and I have done, we still have people like, we sure hope Danielle and Garrett are okay. I'm like, I'm sorry, have you not seen what we have built? When is that story not going to work anymore?
These are coming from like broke,
and
diabetic, overweight.
And they're like, we'll
70-year-old.
sure pray for you. And we're like, we'll sure pray for you.
I think you might need it.
That's the most insane shit.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
But what is crazy though about the Mormon culture, and we went through the same thing. It's like, it's very guilt-based. It's if you leave, you damned your whole family. And so many people stay. I always tell Garrett, I'm like, I wasn't ever like that.
You were never.
I was never really Mormon. Like
if I had told Danielle I was a pagan and I wanted 3 wives, she would have been in. She's like, let's go.
I was never really.
Danielle was like, hell, I don't even believe in that place. Let's go party.
I was never really in the church. I was always in the culture. So when I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I didn't like study the scriptures and do all the things, but like leaving the culture is equally as hard. You get like blamed and judged, and everyone's like, what's wrong with them? And it's like, for us, we stopped going to church when we were losing everything. So not only were we losing everything, and then we decide we're out of the church, everyone's like, oh man, they've just, gone off the deep end. Like, so.
My dad had the Korahor family home evening.
Oh, that was so
So
scary.
in Mormonism, there's this character in the Book of Mormon who's like trying to convert all of the Christians in America, according to the Book of Mormon, to not believe in God. So my dad hosts a family home evening. Now, I want you to imagine my father. The last time my dad, who's a marshmallow, and I love him, he's a lovey marshmallow. And he was Santa Claus for Christmas for 5 straight years. That was his job. I love him. He's great. He's not my role model by any stretch of imagination, but he is in the fact that he's everything I would choose not to be. And yet I can love my father for that. I love my father for the fact that he showed up in such a weak capacity for me as a man. And it wasn't his fault. He was the youngest one, raised by his grandmother, my grandmother, and my grandfather was in the military and gone all the time. And my grandfather never shared feelings. He just steamrolled my grandma. And so my dad was a baby raised by a woman who was pretty much a cupcake Mormon mom.
Yep.
And so he was a cupcake Mormon dad.
Yep.
So when I'm 14 or 12, 13, something like that, my dad comes at me in the kitchen. And I'd found my spark because I found sports at that time. And I confronted my dad and I was like, okay, we're going? Let's go. It's probably the only time I cussed at my father. That time I was like, let's fucking go. And my dad's like, and I remember my dad backing off, never again, because I was getting hit with paddles and belts. I was just the world I got raised up in. Yep. You're naughty, get over it. Whack! I had a paddle in my house that had holes in it. So Marshmallow Dad would hit me with the paddle on my ass with my pants down, little circle bruises all over my legs. I just thought I was part of the world that we were up. Didn't know. So then, now fast forward, it's 2009, we're leaving the Mormon church, and my dad has a family home evening. And I go over there, and you were sitting right there. It was the what was you tell the story, because I always tell the story.
I just remember it was like, hey, we're like feeling like we're at rock bottom. We've lost everything, but we're like, hey, we're going to rebuild our marriage and our life in Arizona. And we like go to connect with the family, and we're basically getting like shamed and guilt and breaking up scriptures to prove how wrong we are with scripture. I was like, we're getting like, for me though, like, I like was never like super religious, and I just remember thinking like, this is so dark, like peace out. Like it was like confirmation for me. I'm like, no, there's bigger things for us in store, you know.
I confronted my dad in this. I'm sitting in a chair just calm, and my dad's up doing the family home evening, leading, and he's so angry. Like there's no love, there's just anger, which was his own fears now being exposed because probably my dad wanted to leave. But he was never strong enough. My parents probably should have got divorced, to tell you the truth. They should have. They've been separated for 6 to 9 months at a time multiple times. They probably should have got divorced, but neither one of them was courageous enough. So now they're in their 70s and they're with each other, and it's great. And they're now on a mission and driving cattle and having a great time. I'm happy for them. But my dad stands up to me, and he's standing in the middle of the room in front of all my siblings. Fists are clenched. Veins popping out of his neck. Face red. My mother's holding him back. And I'm sitting there with my siblings, and I just look at my dad and I say, if you come at me, this will be the worst mistake of your life. everyone's watching this shit go down. And my mom pulls my dad out, and Danielle and I get up. Peace. We didn't hang out with my family for another 4 or 5 years.
Sometimes you do though. You have to distance yourself. You're like, I've got to quiet the noise down and like work on me and not. I don't care what they think. And our families like came back around. Like we were so like nobody talked to us literally like for like
5 years.
Yeah. And then they finally
5
like they
fucking
started to
years.
see our rise and our success, and all of a sudden they're like, huh. Okay, and then they kind of slowly started coming. My parents weren't that bad. My
No, your
mom's
Your
an
mom
angel.
called me and cried for about 2 hours.
She did, but
and
my mom
screamed
loves her
and
kids so
yelled.
much. She would never. She's
She's a grandmother to go to hell with her grandchildren.
Yeah, she would. She'd be like, "Well, I guess we're going." Like,
My father-in-law came up to me at that same time, and he pulled me to the side when we'd left, and he comes up and he said,
my dad.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
And he's a very quiet, big man, concrete cans, just like contractor." He comes up and he's like, "Hey,
So I was raised a little
and
different.
her family had a much different perspective.
Yeah,
on
my mom was sad because my parents. I actually had a brother who died, and that's when my parents got active in the church. So they got married super young. I had a brother who literally got shot. He was 7 years old.
Oh my God.
And he got shot in somebody's basement with a gun they found. And so, I mean, I can't even imagine what that would do to you as a mom. But that's when my parents really went to church.
Yes.
Found hope.
They found,
hope.
you know,
That's so beautiful. For them.
it's so for her to have one of her kids leave, she's like, I'm sure it's like, she's like, I lost my son, and that's how I wanted us families can be together forever.
Yes.
And so that's what I believe she genuinely thinks is like, how do I see my son that died? Oh, the religion, families can be together forever.
Yeah.
And I believe that when we die, like how the Mormon church teaches it, and they say the kingdoms, it's more of a level of frequency. It's not a guaranteed because you hit the checklist, you're in the celestial kingdom. It's frequency on who you became as a person. So, and that's what people don't get. You can never break a family chain off of a checklist.
Yeah.
So even if you leave, doesn't mean they're going to the celestial kingdom. They broke it because they're fucking assholes doing the checklist.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't get.
Okay.
Yes.
So the one of the things I want to hear you talk about. I didn't know this was going to be a lead. We left the Mormon Church podcast, but we're going
I know. And
We
sex.
started with a great sex conversation.
Yeah.
What you'd be amazed, and you probably having this in Superhuman Fathers too. We have a ton of fringe Mormon couples who have been questioning shit for a very long time, who listen to the show and or in Wake Up Warrior, in Superhuman Fathers, who are like, dude, help us. Like, help us. Like, there's a massive exodus from all churches in our age group right now.
Yep.
Because we were all raised a certain way. But Mormonism, there's a reason why the numbers have stayed exactly the same, because they can't stop the exodus of the 30-something couples,
Yeah.
40-something couples who are bouncing. One of the energies that was so different for us was to get to experience a life outside the container of guilt, shame, fear, obligation. Talk to me about what that's been like for you guys coming out of that container. Being able to experience less and less of it.
That's emotional for me, man. Because I when I worked with you one-on-one, I was still in it, man. And you kept painting me that over and over again. And you still get sucked into it.
I do.
But you're ahead of me. So, you know, I was like so psychotically like disciplined in everything, where it was just like I almost created like my own Mormon commandments in my life. Where I'm like, discipline. I'm like, meat, fruit. That is it. Water. Black coffee only. No enjoyment, no pleasure. Just discipline. And so, but to hold that
Very-
I
line,
love it
very
when you go to the
caveman of you.
Viking accent.
He really wants to
Those
be
are
a
gonna be some
Viking.
great fucking clips.
I told him I do not want to live in that Viking era though. No.
Oh, we
He's
would have
obsessed with Viking.
We would have
Great.
thrived in that
Like-
shit.
yeah, you would have been fine.
No, dirty.
We would have had at least
Stinky.
at least a thriving town. You and I,
Okay.
for
Continue on.
sure. But I would get just guilty, not like fuck sleeping in one morning. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm such a piece of shit. I would just beat the fuck out of
Yeah, yeah.
myself, even when we met.
Yeah.
Because it was like I had no God, so there was no Jesus, there was no
Yeah.
forgiveness. It was just like, can you hold the line? If not, you are worthless.
Mhm.
And I could hold the line pretty fucking good. And it was good for me for the time to learn discipline and to lean into that. But when I actually let Jesus back into my life and saw it and was like, oh, free.
Yeah.
And now I just do this because I love it, and I love him, and I love the gift, and I love the game, and I love life. And then I was like, I have to show this to Whitney. I have to show this to my kids. Like, we don't have to suffer like this anymore. That look.
Yeah, it was
That look.
yeah. God, the whole God thing for even, being in Mormon culture and religion, I feel like I looked at God as somebody who was always disappointed me, who was never going to be enough for, no matter what I did, he's always just going to be like, good try, not enough. And so I always had this like guilt relationship with God. And I never really had a close relationship with God because I was always freaking scared that I was not going to make it to wherever I was wanting to go.
Yeah.
So this whole like understanding of God and not attaching it to the fear that everybody in religion, I feel like, wants you to have because it keeps you in compliance or whenever, and keeps you in fear, which keeps you around. But it was this like, oh, God actually loves me. He sees me. He has empathy for me. He doesn't judge me. He doesn't hold anything against me. It was like, oh my God. And so then I can finally feel that for myself. I could finally feel that for him and for my kids and all the, mishaps that happened throughout the day. I wasn't going to be stuck in this spiral of just like,
Where did you find that?
Where did I find it?
Yeah, where did you learn how God actually feels about you?
Was that when I was in my journey?
No.
Oh,
Thing we do every day.
stacking?
Yeah.
Yes. No, yes. I thought you were thinking
Like,
deeper.
That's how we
Yeah.
learned
Yes.
the personality of God.
He just wants you to talk to him. He just wants,
Yeah.
he's there for you.
I think when you open up that communication with God, then you get direct revelation. Like
Yes.
it's almost like the trust starts to build. And it's interesting, even recently in my life, I'm like, you know what? I need to be more open to communicating with God and listening. So my new thing lately is like, hey, like, what do you want me to do? And I listen, and then stuff starts really manifesting quickly because you're like, we're talking, we're having this communication, and that's what he wants. I almost think of it as like me and God, we're in a partnership. We're just trying to make it back up to being God's ourselves.
God's plan is like so much more efficient. And I think there's only one plan in my experience, which is get men and women back into communion and direct conversation with the Father. And that was a shift for me. That's a shift I've watched for you too.
Yep.
What's it feel like, Whitney, to have people hear me say this? And there's a lot of religions that do not believe that men and women are to speak to God. And so they worship the Bible, which I love the Bible. I read the Bible every morning. I love it. And it's not the most important thing to me because the Bible does not make God. God is and was and will all be. And that truth is in us. God is in us, which means the place to find connection and communion with God is to connect into yourself. So we're out here pursuing all these pastors and these bishops and these prophets and all these people's words or the Bible. And all of them are saying, go here. I shouldn't say they are. Most are saying, listen to me. Versus go here and talk to God and ask him. What's it felt like, Kyle, for you just in business and life to know that every morning you can step into a conversation with God, not a theory, like a legitimate, I can ask questions and God answers.
I can't have level of confidence and knowledge of my own identity without that. I couldn't have found it. When I get lost, I just have to go into a prayer stack and I have to receive the words of God, and then I'm reminded every time. Darkness always tries to swallow us. Still comes for me all the time. And I've noticed in the other stacks, they're great, like an angry stack or rage stack or sad stack, but it's the communion in the prayer stack that reminds me who the fuck I am. And I just know I can go there anytime. Today, one of the guys on one of our calls was like, hey, why doesn't God speak to prophets now? And I was like, oh, bro. I was like, look at the prophets. A lot of these guys lived, like 150, 200 years old or whatever. How many times do we have record of God talking to them? Like 5 times in 200 years. I was like, let me read you something. And I read one of my coach's stacks that he sent me yesterday, who'd been struggling and he hasn't been stacking. And God spoke to him so thick and so powerful. And I read that and he goes, who wrote that? I go, Coach BJ, yesterday. And BJ's in tears because he's been withholding talking to God because he's been angry. And then he gets that read back to him. And there's this realization that God speaks to man more than ever now in the last days.
Yeah.
And that we're all prophets and all have the ability to speak to him. And I learned that through the stack. I learned that through the Warrior's Way. I learned that through being around you. And it's the most empowering thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Fun part is to watch is that the sexual revolution for you two came after communion with God.
Yeah.
God's like, hey, listen, now that you're listening to me,
He's like,
I'm going
you're
to
gonna
take you
enjoy
two on an
this.
adventure.
You're welcome. There's your gift.
Thank you for connecting. Now go fuck each other. And this piece for us, I mean, Danielle's kind of been in that place of listening more than I was. I was much rigid like Kyle because of just the structure. Men are taught in Mormonism just discipline and structure. This is why they're so good at sales. They're so good at taking rejection because of it. But that also, I never, like, that's a weird thing because you said I brought God and I accepted Christ into my life.
Yeah.
When I tell people that, and like people say, oh, you're new to the faith in the last 3 years. I said, bro, I've been rocking this game for a long time. But yes, I was in a relationship with a religion and a checklist and a box of fear. And now to be outside that fear creates freedom for us as a couple to explore this life together in ways that we never, ever would have before.
I think too, for women, we think of God as intuition. We're like, oh, I have intuition. You're like, oh, have you consider that God is in you, but you don't feel worthy enough to actually say that. So we use words like, it's my intuition. And so when I felt that, for me, it was like, boom, like I was literally like, oh my God, we can do so much more if we accept that. It's not intuition.
God. It's
God's
literally God speaking within you.
And when you get that feeling, you know 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not intuition, it's God.
No. Yeah, it is clear.
How's this bled over into your kids? Just this new revival for you two. Like what are you noticing with the 4 boys? I mean, raising 14. We're not raising. We got the opposite of the spectrum. I got all the boys with the e-bikes that now park in my garage. I have 14 of those
I
e-bikes
saw that.
yesterday. I was like, holy
That's
shit,
our
I got
life.
a biker gang at my house right now.
Literally.
And we're raising the daughters on the other side.
I know.
You guys got 4 penises to worry about, and and I got about 4,000 to worry about coming at my daughters. So what's it like for you two raising your boys? Because you guys have really taken this far.
Yeah, I mean they know and they feel it. They know that they can talk to God. They know that they are the source. They already know at their age they have zero constraints. They're in no boxes, no belief boxes. They're free to think, talk, feel. We've been able to create the space for them that we didn't have. And
we just have open conversations.
We
Like,
we
share
get to
everything
listen,
with our
and
kids,
they get
too.
to have opinions. I'm like, that's crazy. That's an interesting way to look at it.
And when they mess up, which they all do, I feel like when we messed up, your parents were nicer than mine, I think, but there was just like beat the shit out of you pretty much. Like not physically so much, but emotionally. Just make you feel like you are the worst person ever.
Yeah.
And so with our kids, I mean, obviously they're making mistakes all the time. They have like this forgiveness for themselves, and they know that God's not there to hurt them or be mad at them, but to love them and accept them. And so it's been cool because as they've been talking to us about there's certain things they've gone through, there is just this peace that they have that I wish I had as a kid.
Probably like more of like an open-mindedness because it's like funny. People see my daughter Bailey. I mean, she looks a little
very open.
homeless. She like no, but she looks like people are asking me like, how's Bailey doing?
I know.
Like the stuff she posts and like how she portrays her body and things like that. I'm like, she's on fire. She's doing music. She's working at Starbucks. And it's like, I know that everybody has their own design path. And so I think a lot of times as a mom, if we put too much guilt and judgment on our kids of like, this is the path, then it actually makes them, like doesn't develop them. Yeah. And so for me, I'm like, people can talk all day long about my daughter, the ones that are like, kind of like stuck with how the cookie cutter kid should look like, and she's not in the plaid skirt in the private schools and all this thing. I'm like, yeah, she dropped out of high school and she's pursuing music, and I know this is her path. And I'm so grateful that as a mom, I recognize that so that she can become the full potential of herself. because everybody has like their own journey. So I think it's so important that you guys are going into raising kids with an open-mindedness so that they can actually discover themselves while keeping them in the bumper lanes, I say,
Yes.
by leading and guiding and just showing up as an example. And like there's certain things that are okay and certain things that are dangerous and not okay. But really letting them discover who they are is like the most beautiful thing I think that you can do as a parent. And I think a lot of parents miss that mark, and their kids, they don't ever develop what they're passionate about because they're held in a container.
Well, they miss their mark because they're so unhappy with themselves.
Yeah.
That they're validating their lack of with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know I did that for a long time. I pushed my kids to have 4.0s and to be the best athletes because it was like, I'm winning as a mom.
Yeah.
But
It makes you look good.
Yeah, I'm like, that's it. I did it.
Yep.
But you have so much peace in you, right? And I have so much peace in me.
Gotta talk, Barky.
Protecting us from
That's right.
Theo, who's working hard in the house.
So cute. So that's the biggest piece. Once you can find peace within yourself and certainty in you and love for yourself, you're not going to torture your kids to live up to something.
And you'll never, people like, we think we're judged by our kids. And I'm like, I don't care. You can think whatever you want about my daughter. I'm like, I'm still going to hold space for her. And I'm not saying I'm like, we do everything perfect. There's sometimes I'm like, we really got to reel her in. She's
a little free bird.
She's a little free bird. But like I said, it's like having that balance of like being open-minded while like kind of keeping them in the bumper lanes and like, leading them, guiding them.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you two have chosen to lead people. Talk about this, Kyle. Why? I mean, you run Superhuman Fathers, very successful at it.
Yeah.
Had a massive fucking dent in the game. We're just getting started. Warrior Fit's coming out next year. Partnership deal with you and I. Like, talk about like why lead though? Because people look at leadership and they think, oh, I want to do the cool thing Kyle's doing, but there's a definite dark side of this shit that we're up to. So, like, what is it that what has you keep choosing to show up and lead men right now?
Yeah, everybody wants to be a gangster until you got to do some gangster shit.
Yeah.
It sounds good. You watch guys like, I want to be a coach, and you're like, okay, let's see. And then they get in it, and it's like, oh fuck, this is
Heavy.
Dark.
this is heavy, and I'm out. And you watch them start, quit all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in the firehouse, I really gave a shit about the people in the firehouse. It was a family to me. Like, these were brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I started to get on a path of like discipline and kind of starting to understand what I wanted, and then looking at my life and being like, all the stuff we talk about, that like where we were and how painful it was, we were so far ahead of the game compared to all the guys that I was working with in the firehouse who I used to look at as the leaders.
Mm-hmm.
That's the crazy shit. These are the guys I looked at and were like, those are real men. 7 years later, I'm looking at them like, oh, you guys are fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So I had grown so much that the balance of power had changed to where I'm going, oh, wait, you guys are fat, overweight, you're undisciplined, you're tired and burnt out. They're just had disconnected relationships. And Whitney and I, no matter what shit we were going through, we were always good friends. Like, we were just friends. Like, we wanted to be together. Mm-hmm. We had something that they wanted, even back then, not knowing what was possible in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the gap in these guys. And then I started talking to them about fitness, and I started talking to them about life. And they're like, man, how do you have this family and these kids? And you guys are skateboarding all the time, and you're always like playing music, doing jujitsu, skateboarding. You're ripped, and you're like old, and like your wife seems happy. Like, what's going on? Yeah. So I just talked to them about this stuff, get them on a very simple plan of like, wake up at this time, eat this shit, work out. And they would start doing that. And their entire lives would start to change. Like, their relationships would change. Their leadership at the firehouse would start to change. Their attitude would start to change. It was such very simple things. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, everyone needs to know about this. So I started just sharing that with all the guys in the firehouse. And at one point I had like 60 guys that I was coaching in the firehouse.
For free.
Yeah, just because it was fun.
Yeah.
So I didn't start this because I wanted to make money or build anything. I saw what it did for men. And when I saw the transformation, I just got high off it, man. I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
And so once I spread it out to the world and we got to do it for thousands, like you say it all the time, you can't turn this shit off.
No. Well, Whitney, you had been down the path of leading women in fitness for like 10 years.
Way before me.
So you were down there. What sparked you to even start back then?
Yeah, fitness was my escape. It kind of gave me confidence. I was teaching fitness classes, personal training, so it was almost like I had this authority where in a life that I didn't always feel like I had. So it's kind of like an alter ego in a lot of ways. And so I saw how much it was affecting me and kind of the body bounce back that I had, which affected the way I showed up in every piece of my life. And so wanting to give that to moms, that's why I made it Warrior Mom back almost 15 years ago. Is like, I want moms to be strong and like kick ass and get after it and not be this like, probably to church. I'm like, I don't want to be that wife anymore. Like who's just submissive and quiet. I didn't know how to necessarily except for the body, but it was the pathway that I started with. And then it just kind of elevated, of course, you know, there's always more to fitness than just counting calories and working out. You're like, oh, well, this is why your discipline's off because this is off. And so it kind of always elevated to more mindset. But really it's just, I just have such a deep desire to just help moms just see who they really are because motherhood can be such a drowning experience. And I'm just sick of watching moms just put their life on pause because you don't have to. I mean, you got four or 5 kids. I got 5 kids. We do shit. It's like, not like you can't.
It's
so
like
the
it's like you don't want to settle into just like your kids are your only purpose.
Yes.
Like I think that's such a guilt-driven mindset by moms of like, well, I have kids, so I just have to be in the mom window for the next 20 years. And you're like, no, your kids should not be your only purpose.
No.
And so it's like they don't have the confidence or the certainty. And part of what's cool is like if you get fit, what that does. It's almost like the beginning piece of you're like, well, this feels fun. This is powerful. It's what I've seen with Garrett over this last year. All of a sudden he has muscles, and I'm like, there he is.
Yes.
And it's like this confidence and this certainty that it's like, what else can I do? You know?
It bleeds over.
What's my favorite body part?
What's your
of yours?
favorite
Yeah,
body?
if you say my favorite body part, your favorite body part of me.
My favorite body part of you?
Yeah, like when you look at me, what is your favorite body part?
All of it.
No.
What, you want me to say your ass? Because it does look nice. He had a pancake ass.
He's really proud.
No, even I was like, I'm like jealous, really. I'm like, you have an ass.
Favorite
like
part of my body to
like,
hold on
I just
to.
can't keep my hands off of it.
Like, you know how like guys always come over and slap girls in the
wow.
ass? That's like me. I'm like, that is just nice.
Solid. Well done.
Thank you, Coach Carter.
Yes.
And your butt gains program. I had a really hard time with it when we first got on the girl like booty machines, like the naughty girl, good girl machines.
Yes.
And I'm like,
naughty girl,
good girl.
Guys watching guys do it, but you know,
it's super gay watching a guy do it.
It
There's
is.
nothing.
but
like,
you can't have all these muscles and then just have a flat ass.
Yeah. Well, we do other things. We squat. We do some other things, but like that was part of it. So listen, this is like you are now stepping into a role. I saw you like a year ago. You first came to our programs, and I looked out at you during an event, not even having a clue this would be the case. And I looked right at you, and I looked at you, and I was like, oh shit, she's the one. And then you were looking at me, and I was like, you're it. And in 2 weeks, Warrior Woman launches, and you are the lead trainer of Warrior Woman.
Yeah. Crazy.
Like you rose up into this, and Warrior Mom Fitness became Wake Up Warrior Moms, and here we are about to lead a revolution of moms. So talk to us about what that feels like to step into this. I mean, we got a big event coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I have a ton of women there that are going to be part of this experience. How's that feel to know you've done the work to put yourself in this position?
It's interesting. I remember when I first started Warrior Mom Fitness, when I did that first YouTube video about 12 years ago, I remember Kyle telling me, you're going to be on stages one day. You're going to be like on Oprah. And I'm like, bull crap. And I was like, that was when Oprah was a big deal.
Yeah, Oprah.
She's still a big deal. But, and I was like, okay. Like I never have allowed myself to believe that because I've always played so small. And so that opportunity that you kind of proposed to me last year, that idea sparked in me. It was like, oh my gosh, maybe I am capable of more. And so it just pushed me to just get free from all the stuff that I've been limiting myself by. And it's just amazing to see when you finally make a choice to allow yourself this permission to fully be you in all capacities. It's ugly, it's bloody, it's messy. It was not pretty this last year by any means. There's more tears. I know you had similar experiences last year. It's like, oh my God, when is this going to end? It's so hard. But when you get kind of where I've gotten this last month, it was like, oh, I see. I see where it was, what was all for. And I just know like that there is such a big need for women, especially to rise. And I'm just seeing all these kids just need moms that are strong. Husbands need these wives that can counter them and check them and hold space for them and be with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, fuck, if there's nobody else to do it, then I guess it's me. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So I'm super excited. I'm honored. I'm humbled, and I'm ready to just bring it to a higher platform.
You're qualified.
I'm qualified.
I think that's for women. That's the hardest thing is like when you feel called to go in the beginning, you feel unqualified. So it keeps us stuck. It keeps us stagnant. And then you're like, I have to understand that I'm not speaking in front of thousands right now, but I am qualified and I will get there.
Yes.
So if you tell yourself that, then you're like, okay. Because even for me, like I'm trying to push my personal brand and all that, and I'm like, I can't do it. And I'm like, I get nauseous thinking about it. And then I'm like, no, I'm like, I can do it. I am qualified. You just have to start with where you're at.
Yeah. And you're doing it, right? You're putting in the reps. Yeah.
Listen, we could do like 17 hours.
I know. I was like,
sorry.
No, today was perfect.
We only
And it
covered
was
sex and religion.
Sex and religion, the two topics.
Those are the best two topics
We'll bring
that
you guys
very
back
few
to
want
the
to talk
most controversial.
about it.
Politics
Yes.
and
We knew we could do it with you
bring up
guys.
something else.
That's right.
You guys are amazing. Again, Kyle Carnahan with Superhuman Fathers. You find him on Instagram. You find him on YouTube. You find him on everywhere. So just Google it. You'll find him. He's grown a beard since a lot of his old videos.
Don't be afraid with his bald head.
Just his bald head and his no bearded face, and now he's got hair in his chin, his nose, his ears, his hair. A lot of that is.
I mean, Whitney has more hair too.
I know.
It's been a hair makeover year.
Yes.
The year of
You
hair.
both grew hair. I think that was the magic to it. And Whitney runs Warrior Mom Fitness, but also now Wake Up Warrior Woman, specifically focusing on coaching moms who are at home. So a lot of women get put in a situation really difficult, which is they're married to high producing men. They don't have a desire to go launch a business. They don't want to go do these things. What they want to do is be an elite mother and be able to show up for themselves and not get lost. She's our lead girl in guiding that conversation. We're excited to have her as one of our lead trainers at Wake Up Warrior Woman, but also watch her launch and blow up and what she's doing. We believed in these two from the beginning, from the very beginning, and God reached out and said, reach out to this giant caveman that skateboards and can actually do tricks and who falls with 220 pounds of muscle to the concrete floor and rolls off and laughs. I'm like, I've done that a few times. I was not rolling off and laughing. I was like, oh, what the fuck am I doing in this skate park? So thank you so much for being here. We're going to have you guys back again as a guest, and both we're going to be in your lives forever. So we love having you here. And Danielle, you want to close up the show?
All right, you guys, you know what to do. If you found value in this show, share it with your friends. Honestly, our goal here is to bring real life stories to impact, to help you get outside of the box and really become the best versions of yourselves and the best relationships. So again, share this with your friends. It comes out every single Monday, and stay tuned for more guests that we'll be having on every single week.
That's a wrap for this week's Date Your Wave podcast.